Om. Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, 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 and joyous beneficence to all beloved beings everywhere. Om Hari Om Tat Sat. So welcome everyone to our Saturday noon reading and discussion of Swami Prabhavananda's book, How to Know God. His translation of and extensive commentary on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. The Swami produced this book for his Western devotees, particularly the monastics of the time, but for all of his Western devotees. There were very few Indians in the United States in Swami Prabhavananda's time. He left the body on July 4th, 1976. So almost all of his devotees and disciples were Westerners. They had found that the way in which Swami Vivekananda wrote his commentary of and his interpretation of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, which was published as Raja Yoga in 1896, by the 40s and 50s, it was becoming a bit difficult to understand some of the language that the Swami used. So Swami Prabhavananda did a new interpretation and commentary. And this is what we're reading. We're well along in chapter 2. Can someone tell Jeff, if he doesn't already know, where it is that we left off?
Well, I'd like to inform you about something.
Yes.
While I was in St. Petersburg, I bought the current version of the book. So hopefully that will lead to less confusion as far as page numbers are concerned.
Okay.
And last night I did my due diligence in preparing for today. I watched the video of last week.
So you know where we are. All right.
So, well, I also know that there was some confusion about where we are in the book.
Yes.
And so I didn't
Yes.
I didn't want that to happen again. So I watched the video all the way through to the very end so I would know where the resumption point is. And so I can tell you authoritatively that we are in chapter 23, shloka number 277, and you'll find that on page 12.
All right. Uh-huh. Very good, Jeff.
This is my nut job sense of humor. So
Yes.
we are actually still in chapter 2, yoga and its practice, and we're on shloka 38.
Yes. Thank you, dear.
You scared me.
Yeah, the look on,
I was too.
I have just for a moment, I wondered what on earth book did he buy? But then I got that it was your nut job sense of humor and liked it very much. All right. So we're on in chapter 2, shloka 38. In the new book that you have, Jeff, what page is that?
That's 158.
158. Okay.
And please pardon my little practical joke there, but it was worth it just to see the look on Cindy's face because she was totally confused. I'm sorry.
No need to be sorry.
Okay.
As Swami Prabhavananda was very fond of saying, we shall have no long-faced religion here.
Mhm.
No long-faced religion. So before we begin, is there anything from our previous sessions that remains a question mark for you? Or is there anything that you would like to contribute based on what we've read so far, or anything else for that matter, about your own experience in your own practice? All right, dears.
I'll pipe up because since I wasn't in class last week, Shloka 36 talks about when a man becomes steadfast in his abstention from falsehood, he gets the power of obtaining for himself and others the fruits of good deeds without having to perform the deeds themselves. And I thought that was a real powerful shloka, and the commentary as well. And I was wondering, is that the beginning of cities? Is that the beginning of extraordinary powers that
Well,
come to an aspirant?
the answer is yes, but it is not sought after.
Right.
It's simply the powers that are discussed in chapter 3 under the title powers are powers that are actively sought after. You do particular things in order to produce particular results. And they are not spiritual powers. They are psychic powers, very different from what is mentioned in Shloka 36, Sutra 36. This is spontaneously arises from someone who practices absolute truthfulness. And of course, this was true of Sri Ramakrishna. And I told a story and then amended the story that I had told about Swami Swahananda having manifested this power when he was the head of the New Delhi Center in his early 40s. And he found it so troubling that he had to be so mindful of what he was thinking and saying that he prayed to the Divine Mother to remove this power from him, even though he would remain steadfast to the truth that that this ability to manifest whatever it was he thought about or spoke of, he he prayed to her that this be removed, and it was removed. So, but this is a siddhi, but it is not a psychic siddhi. It is a spiritual siddhi, and is a natural. We find that there is one having to do with wealth, as we'll see. Well, perhaps we've already read it, but of course the word wealth means all of what the goddess Lakshmi has to offer us, not just material wealth.
Yes, the shloka about wealth was 37. That was the last one.
That's I wasn't, my memory for numbers not being good, I wasn't sure. But you might just read that one, reading then and the commentary, and then into 38.
Okay, gladly. Shloka 37. When a man becomes steadfast in his abstention from theft, all wealth comes to him.
Now, this is again one of the yamas. When you completely abstain from any kind of theft, what is it that happens again, Jeff?
All wealth comes to him.
And what does the Swami say?
This aphorism can be explained in two ways. In the first place, when a man becomes free from all feelings of covetousness, he no longer experiences the lack of anything. He is therefore in the same situation as the richest man on earth. Secondly, it is true that a lack of desire for material benefits actually seems, in many cases, to attract those benefits. As Vivekananda puts it, the more you fly from nature, the more she follows you. And if you do not care for her at all, she becomes your slave.
This is remarked on not only by Vivekananda, but it is even remarked on by Franz Kafka and many other people of a saintly nature. Take note of this particular aspect. It is really quite remarkable that I believe it's either Rumi or Hafiz, I think it's Hafiz, that said he simply gets drunk. He has to walk with two canes, he says. Just getting drunk on the peach fuzz and the magnificence of a spring day. Nature pursues him and makes him inebriated. It's a beautiful, beautiful poem. So this is again, the yamas aren't just to make you a better person. They're removing that which is keeping you from being the magnificent spiritual being that you are.
It's polishing the mirror, right?
Yes, it is softly and slowly polishing away everything that is obscuring the truth of your true original being, which will be reflected in that mirror once it is fully clean. Anything else from anyone while we're paused?
Shankara, what is the name you said? Francis or something?
Franz, Franz,
Oh.
Kafka, Kafka. He was, I believe, a Viennese writer of the 19th century, maybe early 20th century too. You can find his work, and he talks about the fact that the mind and nature itself will fall at your feet when you become desireless. I mean, it's a remarkable passage in his work. Thank you, Balakrishna, and good to hear your voice. Anything else from anyone before we move on?
Brother Shankara, this
Yes,
is Haima. The last sentence, the more you fly from nature, that is so, so true in my life. Whether nature can be materials or people, and then it just works just the way it's said. It works so perfectly.
Yes, and
Thank you.
Vivekananda really explains this in great detail, not only in Raja Yoga, his commentary published as Raja Yoga, but also in his talks on bhakti and karma. Anything else from anyone? Thank you, Haima.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking to understand this theft part, and it seems like it's not just bounded by ethical or moral boundaries, or even the value of the object that you're stealing. It's probably something more of a principle. So even if you went to, let's say, a fancy hotel or Ritz-Carlton, and you just had a glass there sitting there with the Ritz-Carlton uh, engraved on it, you pick up that glass. That also is of very de minimis value, but may actually be hindering you on this principle or this
Well,
yama.
precisely, Bhaskar. It was said of Swami Yogeshananda, the man who founded this center, that he used practically nothing. He would use very little water. He would use very little heat. And it wasn't that he was being, when asked about it, he would play it off by saying, "Oh, it's just my Scotch nature, my Scottish nature." Um, but no, that was not it at all. He was practicing this particular yama, not taking anything more from the world than he absolutely needed, and to the extent possible, desiring nothing. But on the other hand, his wealth was such that he produced baked goods, not so much for himself, but he would get on his bicycle and ride to people's homes and bring them these baked goods that he had made. So this is the flip side, the generosity, this uplift of spirit and nature, this feeling of wealth, and being able to share bounty that comes with this shloka 37 or 38, whatever it is about wealth. Um, Yogeshananda was just remarkable, and of course he embodied what we find in many of the swamis. They love nothing more than to share, whether it be knowledge or their hot chili peppers or whatever it is that they particularly enjoy. So thank you, Bhaskar. You're absolutely right. It goes way beyond just, and you're absolutely right. If you pick up that glass at the Ritz-Carlton, what is it that you wanted? What is it that you want to prove that you stayed at the Ritz-Carlton to yourself or someone else? Why do you need such a thing? But the impediment is in the desire, and the act then has its consequences. Both the act of doing it or abstaining from it. Anything else from anyone?
I just had an overall observation on the prime numbers. I think we have sevens and fives. I mean, there is the seven spiritual law of success, seven laws of successful people. But however, in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, it seems it comes in the number five. So you have five vrittis. Now we have five yamas and five niyamas. Just an observation.
It's very significant. 5 is the number of change. 5 is the number of unpredictable change. That's the Vedic understanding. And so when you practice these 5, unpredictable changes will happen for you. There are some predictable changes, the Swami is talking about those. But because you are unique and your spiritual nature, though it is eternal, infinite, and changeless, it is also unique. And so whenever you practice these spiritual principles, and whenever you do these spiritual practices, unpredictable things will happen. And that's the reason for the number 5. Thank you, Bhaskar. Very acute observation. 7 is the number of good fortune. Anything else? Okay, please read on, Jeff.
Shloka 38. When a man becomes steadfast in his abstention from incontinence, he acquires spiritual energy. And I'll repeat that. When a man becomes steadfast in his abstention from incontinence, he acquires spiritual energy. And the commentary?
Please.
Sexual activity and the thoughts and fantasies of sex use up a great portion of our vital force. When that force is conserved through abstinence, it becomes sublimated as spiritual energy. Such energy is indispensable to a spiritual teacher. It is the power by which he transmits understanding to his pupils. For true religion is not taught like history or mathematics. It is transmitted like light or heat. That concludes the commentary.
The name in Sanskrit, the word in Sanskrit is ojas, O-J-A-S. It is something that is said if you are steadfast in this restraint for 12 years, a new nerve grows in your body. A new nerve is enlivened. Its potential is already there. Nothing is manifested that wasn't already potential, but it is enlivened. And this is then the nerve that is the transmitter of this spiritual energy that this Swami just commented on. That nerve gathers together this energy and literally transmits it. We see in many spiritual ceremonies, and now other ceremonies as well, there being one candle brought into a room. Everyone else is holding an unlit candle. From that one candle is lit all of the other candles. Or sometimes it's done, one candle the one brought into the room will light a candle, and that person will turn and light the next person's, and so on, and say something at the same time. In any event, this transmission of spiritual energy is tangible. One feels it in the presence of these great ones. Any comments from anyone on that? About your own experience?
I have had a couple of experiences about that, including last week.
Of course, I would expect that, yes.
First of all, years ago, something like 20 years ago, when I started doing kirtan, it was with a group of friends who enjoyed doing kirtan, and so we did some traveling because some of those folks were devotees of Amrit Desai.
Mm-hmm.
So there were several weekends where we went to his new headquarters in Salt Springs, Florida, and we would partake of the weekend program, whatever that was, in return for providing the kirtan part of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It was a nice trade-off, and we, my friend and I, who is visually impaired, because of his visual impairment, they had us bunking in an apartment right underneath where Amrit Desai and his family lived. And so we could hear the TV going at various times, and I'm not sure if I was right underneath their bedroom, but it made sense to me as far as the layout of the big house. And every time I went there, I could not sleep at all. It felt like I was picking up his energy, and I was just, and not in a good way necessarily, because I don't think I was prepared for it then. I kind of am now, maybe, but I couldn't sleep. I just felt like that energy was going no, 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 to me,
Yep.
and I couldn't let go of it, you know.
Well, don't minimize that experience by saying you weren't ready for it, because it wouldn't have happened if you weren't ready for it. What happened as a result of it, only you can know. But this is very auspicious, and it's very exemplary of what we're talking about.
And last week when I was in, or earlier this week when I was in St. Pete, the first time I went to St. Pete, it was last October, and they had me staying in a guest house that was like a block and a half away. So I slept fine. This time, I was in a guest house that was right across the street from the center, so right across where Swami Ishtananda lives. And I went to sleep okay, but almost every morning I was there, I woke up at 2 a.m. and I couldn't go back to sleep.
Yeah.
And the only explanation that makes sense to me is I was close enough to Swami where I was picking up his energy somehow. And I wondered if he starts his meditation practice at 2 a.m. So that's all I have to say, but it's personal experience that I've had about
Well, thank you for sharing that, Jeff, and for being so straightforward. Anyone else?
Yes. It says when a man becomes steadfast, is this also true for women?
Oh, absolutely. No, this is just the way the Swami spoke in his Indian, Victorian, American inflected way. They didn't. This was written, I believe, in the 40s, and the pronoun issue had not become so prominent. But definitely, it's true for women. You can read this, by the way, explicitly said by Sri Krishna in the Gita. And that was 5,000 years ago. And when there was a lot of people did not believe that women were worthy or capable of spiritual practice or advancement, certainly not of enlightenment or liberation. And Sri Krishna says, yep, them too. So just get off it. But they didn't. Patriarchy continued. But Swami Prabhavananda was not being patriarchal. He was just, that was just the way people spoke in those days. And it's changed now. Thanks for bringing that up, Robert. Just so there's no doubt in anyone's mind that it is a gender neutral statement.
And yet, it's about more than pronouns and gender neutrality, because the Ramakrishna order, there's still a very much of a separation between swamis and pravrajkas, and they are really on the same level, but there's not a single pravrajaka who's ahead of center. I mean, it's still very patriarchal, regardless of pronouns used when reading.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So really,
But there are Pravrajakas that are ahead of the Sardamat centers. of course.
But no, right.
But
Right. That's a different
and,
order.
and there are several nuns that are resident ministers holding positions analogous to mine. Three that come to mind immediately are Ridgely, Dallas, and Phoenix, Arizona. Three Pravrajikas are resident ministers there. And this was the doing of Swahananda, who was doing his best to dispel this onus and this. But the cultural weight that rests on the shoulders of the Ramakrishna order is not measurable or judgeable by us, is my opinion. What they have to deal with in the culture that they are very much embedded in is difficult for us to understand, let alone judge. It's impossible for me to understand.
Brother Shankara,
Yes, dear.
are any of the Pravrajikas able to give initiation, or is that only
Not within the Ramakrishna order, no.
Okay.
Of course, the Sardamat nuns, Pravrajikas, they do indeed give initiation. The president, I think, of that group, and maybe some vice presidents as well. That's as much as I know.
Well, that's encouraging anyway, and
Well, it's very slow. This patriarchy, according to one very astute student of it, a woman whose name escapes me at this moment. She's written a book. She says the patriarchy is 200,000 years old. That's a lot of momentum. It's not going to go away easily. The dinosaurs are not going to die off that quickly. But we've strayed a bit from the business of continence and its power. Not that we shouldn't stray from it, but it certainly is something to consider. But for a householder, continence equals moderation. For someone who is married and is a householder, continence equals moderation, and Krishna is very explicit about this, as is Sri Ramakrishna. So, as is Holy Mother, for that matter. So but if you are unattached or a monastic, strict continence over a period of time, the number is given as 12 years. Strict continence over a period of that time will enliven this transmission nerve. And so it's just as that you might want to read the commentary again, what the Swami says.
certainly. Sexual activity and the thoughts and fantasies of sex use up a great portion of our vital force. When that force is conserved through abstinence, it becomes sublimated as spiritual energy. Such energy is indispensable to a spiritual teacher. It is the power by which he transmits understanding to his pupils. For true religion is not taught like history or mathematics. It is transmitted like light or heat.
Okay. And you can just make that the pronoun she. It's true of women as well as men. Otherwise, Amma would not be able to do what she does. Amma is the hugging saint, you may know of her. She transmits spiritual power called Shaktipat. Anything else from anyone before we go on?
So what is the significance of the number 12? Just like you said, 5 is change, 7 is good luck. Does 12 have anything to do with the 6 chakras? 6 times 2? I'm just making a guess.
No, dear, as my granddaddy would have said, not as I knows on. But what it does is it reduces to the number 3, which is the number of first manifestation. Both the 0 is the unmanifest. Can't talk now, I'm in class. So 0 is the unmanifest. 1 is the number of the first manifestation in the subtle realm. 2 is the second number. The first is the masculine, Ishwar or Ishwara. 2 is the number for Ishwari. But these are both subtle. Now we come forward to 3. 3 is the number for manifestation of the masculine force or incarnation in physical form. And 4 is the number of the divine feminine in physical form. So Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother are 3 and 4. And this is why I said, you add those together, you get good fortune. This is the number 7. I don't want to get too much into Vedic numerology and all of this, but there is real significance to these numbers. So 3 is significant, and 12 reduces to 3. Thank you, Bhaskar. As usual, very astute observation.
Brother Zachary, it says it's not taught like mathematics. It must be transmitted like heat or light. Does that mean it must be experienced? Can you give some more definition to the meaning of this?
50 years ago, 1973, the eternal teacher glanced at me. Not a word was said. My eyes filled with tears. He's awakened me still after all these years. This is an actual experience of mine in, coincidentally, February 1973. I had been taken for the first time by one of Swami Prabhavananda's disciples to see him speak. When the Swami spoke, he always came out, if you're facing the shrine area in the Hollywood Temple, there is a door on the left, and then there's a platform that goes across to the podium where the speaker speaks. Swami Prabhavananda came out of that door on the arm of his sevak, his assistant, Swami Krishnananda. Swami Prabhavananda was on the side toward the congregation. He, as he always did, simply glanced out into the crowd. I had no sense that he was looking directly at me or anything of the kind. But in that instant, when his glance crossed my being, there was an uprush of spiritual energy that I have never experienced anything like it since. my eyes literally filled with tears, and they continued to tear up for the entire time that he was speaking. I was not sobbing or weeping, but from the outside corners of my eyes, tears continued to stream down my cheeks. That's an experience. There are others, but that's one. Is that sufficient, Robert, or do you want to hear more? Robert?
Oh, it must be experience, but does that experience, is the source of that experience, what is the source of that experience? I guess I know what the source is. But
This spiritual power that is emanating from the such as Swami Prabhavananda. I mean, the power that emanated from that man was tangible. It was the reason he attracted so many powerful people to him. So many people they did not concern themselves with ordinary people or with the ordinary people who were ordinarily considered powerful. They were not in the least interested in them. People like Aldous Huxley, Christopher Isherwood, Greta Garbo, Helen Hayes. They knew about those kind of powerful people, and they didn't care about them in the least. About Swami Prabhavananda, they cared a great deal. Helen Hayes built a house close to the Hollywood Center so that she could come and see Swami Prabhavananda at quiet times when it wouldn't attract attention. So this is the power, but you can experience it if you want to experience it. Be sure and come when Swami Sarvapriyananda comes in July. He's coming on July 7th. He'll be here 7th, 8th, 9th, leaves on the 10th. He's going to do a weekend retreat. That's actually going to be done at Emory University. But he will be available. He will be available to meet with you when he's here. Another who will come sometime later this year, Swami Yogatmananda. Again, tangible sense of spiritual presence. Swami Sarvadevananda will come sometime later this year to give initiation and so on. Again, be in his physical presence and see what it is that you experience. It is there. Now, what I just read to you from that song 50 years ago, 1973, and so on, that is an actual experience. Not one iota of anything but truth there. This is the power of the great teachers. And as we saw in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, he drew to him and profoundly inflected the lives of some of the most powerful spiritual teachers of his time in Bengal. For that matter, in East Bengal and even in North and South India. People would come to see him because there was something there. it's still there. You have to apply for it these days, so to speak. By apply for it, I mean accept the invitation. But you can feel it from his apostles. I once made a point to Balakrishna of the power that could be felt in the presence of Swami Sridharananda, who heads the work in Australia and New Zealand, the Ramakrishna Order work. Balakrishna made a special effort to test the truth of what I was saying. He went to Australia with a tour group, but broke away from the group to go see Swami Sridharananda. Balakrishna, would you like to say a word or
Yes.
two about your experience?
Yeah, that is wonderful experience, Swami. I never felt it because that Swami, even though he's almost like over, at that time, he's over 80 something, but his love for people is so exuberant. I just can't believe it. You know, when I went there, he said, no, wait for dinner. So it was in an open air. He just arranged the dinner and, and then it was almost like 10:30, and there was a driver who was supposed to be dropping me at the station, but he insisted that he would come with me all the way to the station and waited until the train comes and, make sure that I got into the train. It is unbelievable love.
And you feel it, Robert.
Oh, yes.
It's not as if it's something that is just in the actions.
No,
you actually
no.
feel it.
Yes, you could
Wherever Swami Sridharananda speaks, the room fills with people. And once again, this is a man who has had real influence, inflected the lives of leaders wherever he has served, whether it was Lucknow, India, or Sydney, Australia. This is the truth of what's being said in this shloka. And of course, each of these individuals, each of these swamis, each of these women, these pravrajakas, amma, they're unique. What you experience in their presence has similarities to others, but it is unique, and it is so to be treasured, because it inflects your life. It is the highest kind of samskara that your internal nature can receive. I'm really glad we had this conversation, because this is a truth.
Actually, this is what our Vedas say. All these realized souls have an aura. By just looking at them, they transform you.
Yes, precisely.
And I had the same experience. This was a long time back when I was a college student. One time when Swami Chinmayananda, he was not so famous like now. When he was starting his thing, he came to our town and he conducted 7 days Bhagavad Gita course. Oh my God, that was the first time. I have never, encountered any Swamis so far. And really, I felt it. There is a special power with them.
Oh, no question, no question. Okay, here are the next 4 lines of that song, Robert, and for the rest of you. His heart is afire because he is free. His clear eyes show what it is to see beyond the pages of any book and know the truth wherever he looks. And when they look at you, they discern the truth of you, the pure spiritual truth of you. They don't care about your whatever personality traits you have and so on. It isn't that they don't care about them in an ultimate sense, but in that they care about what they see when they see you. And so they are able to react to you absolutely perfectly. Their interaction with you is flawless. And so this is what is meant by this shloka. They transmit this spiritual power like heat or light. You turn on a light in a room, the light is immediately there. You turn on a heater, a radiant heater, the heat is immediately there. You come into the presence of one of these beings, one of these people who is manifesting this, and you feel it. Anything else from anyone? Please do come forward if you wish with anything at all that you would like to say in response to all this.
Well, I have one more example to say. You remember that there is one Swami of Swami Chinmayananda came to our center one weekend. He gave the retreat. I forgot.
Yes.
Actually, he had the same thing. Before.
Yes. Sorry. That Swami's name was, I think, Swami Japananda.
No, not Japananda. Japananda is from the Ramakrishna mission. This is Chinmayananda. He came, I think he is from Europe someplace, but he came to our center and he gave a retreat on, for 1 week. But anyhow, he, before he met even Chinmayananda, he was kind of like a vagabond going here and there, not knowing what he's supposed to do. At one time, he was standing on a road in San Francisco, waiting for the bus. He doesn't know where to go. The bus stopped and he didn't go in. The driver said, "Come, I will take you." And he got into the bus and he dropped at a house, and the driver said, "Okay, you get down here." And that is where, when he went into the house, who else? It's Chinmayananda he met.
Wow, this bus driver was an angel. I mean, he was an angel in disguise as a bus driver. Oh, what a priceless story. Here, you get in. Who knows whether that bus was anywhere listed in the registry of rapid transit vehicles in San Francisco, or whether that angel simply manifested that bus, because there wasn't anybody else on the bus, obviously. He just got him on.
Yeah, that is the story. And then he was a disciple of him, and he spent 3 years with Chinmayananda.
Now that says a lot about him all by itself. The fact that he was able to spend 3 years with Chinmayananda. Most people wouldn't be able to stand that much heat. They wouldn't get out of that kitchen. The fellow that is now the head of the Portland Center, who I'm hoping will be able to come this summer and be with us face-to-face for a face-to-face meeting. His name is Chandrasekharananda. He lived with and served Swami Sridharananda.
Yes, I met him in
Yes.
Australia. When I went to him, he was there.
Yes, he lived and served with him for 10 years. Anyone who could stand the heat in that kitchen for 10 years, oh, that is one pure soul. And the Swami had, as doubtless had, tremendous effect on Chandrasekharananda's spiritual unfoldment. So Chandrasekharananda is now the head of center in Portland, Oregon. And he's been here once before. I'm hoping he can come again.
Came in July 2019, Brother Shankar.
Hmm?
He was there. Chandrasekharananda he came to our center on July 20th, 2019. I just joined your center at that time, 7 months before. I have his notes and everything. I wrote down some of his
All right.
work.
Well, he
was amazing. He was amazing.
I just wrote to him
Yeah.
literally on Wednesday. I wrote to him on Wednesday. So he should just about be receiving the letter now. It was an actual handwritten note written by the new personal assistant, Connie, for me. And so I invited him to come this summer. And we'll see. It's been a shame that we haven't been able to have so many visiting swamis because of this, or pravrajikas. If you're ever, if go to Ridgely, if you want to meet a powerhouse, go and be in the presence of Gita Prana. Cindy was talking about pravrajikas. Pravrajika Gita Prana, though she isn't head of center, she's the resident minister there. She is a powerhouse. She is from 3 generations of Kali worshippers. 3 generations. And she is just a powerhouse. She's astounding. You know, you'll have to spend time with her to get to see it. She hides it. She doesn't show it to everyone. But if she finds you sincere, she'll share with you some real amazing power. Mother's power, Kali's power. So it's there. Robert and all of you. Anything else from anyone? I think we're about out of time now. Yeah, we are.
Shankaraji, is
Yes, dear.
Sarvapriyananda is going to stay at the center?
Oh, of course.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. But all
Well, I haven't heard otherwise, and it would be very unusual for a Swami to stay elsewhere when there is a monastery where they can stay, a Ramakrishna monastery where they can stay. You know, I suppose it's possible that he gets invited somewhere else and accepts the invitation, but I haven't heard from either him or his personal secretary, Mr. Bose, that he would stay anywhere else.
So are the lectures going to be at the Emory, or is he going to have some lectures at the
No,
center?
I'm hoping we can
Yeah.
have a reception for him here, that we can have a face-to-face reception for him in July. And in which case he would speak. He would speak in the chapel for some, but the difficulty that is, if we make any notice of it, hundreds of people will come.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
So I mean, people will fly in.
Yes.
Just for the opportunity to, this is the power of the man. People will fly in for his weekend retreat at Emory when we make that announcement. And that's why we're holding it at Emory at a big hall there, because hundreds of people will come. They'll probably be standing room only. And so anything that we try to do in our little chapel, it would be kind of, we're going to have to be very, quiet about it, because otherwise, you know, people will come from Augusta, they'll come from Athens, they'll come, you know, just even if they don't fly in, they'll.
So, Shankaraji,
Brother Shankara?
Yes, Nira.
Yeah, would any of our devotees, Atlanta devotees have a personal time with Swami
Of
Sarvapriyan?
course, Nira. Why would there be anything other than that? But that will have to be by arrangement. It won't be informal. As I'm saying, if we do anything informal, I said earlier that you can arrange a meeting. I suggested to Robert that yes, there will be personal, but it's a long way off, and I haven't heard anything from the Swami or his personal secretary about whether they want me to handle his calendar when he's here. Swami Sarvadevananda, when he comes, always asks me to handle the calendar of his personal meetings with people. But, Swami Sarvapriyananda has a personal secretary named Mr. Bose. I haven't met him, Pratap Bose. He's associated with the West Side New York Center. And so as time goes on, but yes, of course you can have private time with the Swami. But, the announcement will be made, and it will be first come, first served here. There cannot be any preference given.
Is there any way we can have our name on the list or the pending list?
No. I can't make it more clear. That would be preferential treatment, Vijay.
Sorry.
But so, Shankaraji, at
Yes.
the Emery is going to be a weekend retreat. Are there any tickets or anything like that?
I have no idea. I have nothing to do with this. Aditya, the Hindu chaplain at Emory, they're handling all those arrangements.
Oh, okay.
Whatever they tell me to put in the newsletter, I'll give to Cindy to put in the newsletter.
Okay.
All I know at this point is that the chaplain, the Hindu chaplain, who's part of the same department that Aditya Chaturvedi is part of, there at Emory. She's the Hindu chaplain for that department. She made the arrangements for the hall. And all of the arrangements are being made by her and Aditya. Aditya is, of course, part of that religious studies department at Emory. This is an activity of the center, but not under the control of the center.
Oh.
Thank you for that information, Brother Shankar.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that I can't give preferential treatment, but if I gave preferential treatment to one, the doors would be flooded with requests, and suddenly I would be way out ahead of what the Swami and his secretary have anything agreed to. So I have to hear from them before I can announce to you what is likely to be the case. But there will certainly, when the Swami is here, he's why would he not be available as he is when he travels everywhere else? We have a room for him to stay in.
Yes.
Jyoti, as usual, Jyoti, Elizabeth Yates, is already volunteered to handle his meals. John Gano, who some of you know, John Gano, who's the one who requested that I ask the Swami to come here for this particular purpose, which is a weekend retreat on the Ashtavakra Gita. John Gano is serving as his driver, unless that is vetoed by the Swami or his personal secretary. But that he has made it known that he because he has that preference because he's the one whose initiative it was to bring the Swami here. And that's all I know at this point. Jyoti's handling the meals. If you want to provide a meal for the Swami, the person to be in touch with is Jyoti, and she will have a schedule of the meals and any dietary restrictions, but much closer to the event itself, within a month of the event itself, which, as I say, begins July 7th. He arrives by plane on July 7th. And we'll be here at the center that evening. Anything else from anyone? All right, dears. We'll close it at that. Om Hari Om. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya. Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amrutangamaya. Abir Moiti. Oh, dearly beloved Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from this realm of endless noise and relentless deception to thine abode of silence, serenity, clarity, and peace. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through. Light us through and through with thy everlasting, shining presence. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. May we all be safe. May we all be healthy. May we all be cheerful. May we all have peace of mind. May we all be always and know we are always in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. Om Hari Om Tat Sat. Any final thought from anyone? All right, dears. That will do it until tomorrow morning when we have the birthday celebration for Sri Ramakrishna. That's at 11 a.m. by Zoom. Use the Sunday and special events link, and that'll get you right to what we're doing at 11 a.m. Talk with you again soon. Talk with you tomorrow afternoon, Jeff.
All right, sir. Why don't you call me, because your schedule is probably tighter than mine is. So
no, why don't you sign on to the reading, the link for the Chandi reading?
Oh, okay.
At
Okay.
3 p.m. And we'll do it by Zoom.
That sounds great. Okay, thank you. I look forward to it.
I'll sign on at 3 o'clock, and you sign on, and we'll Zoom it. But we'll use that Chandi reading link.
Right. Okay.
Okay?
I look forward to that.
That one doesn't record.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.